The sister who was never chosen. The black car stopped beneath the bedroom window at exactly 9:17 p.m. Liana knew because she had been staring at the clock, wondering how many more months she could survive in a house where everyone behaved as though she were already supposed to be gone. Then headlights swept across the ceiling. She crossed to the window and forgot about the clock. A long black sedan rolled through the open gate and came to a stop beside the front steps. Rain glistened across its hood. Even from the second floor, Liana recognized the silver emblem on the grille. Her fingers tightened around the curtain. No. She leaned closer. There were expensive cars. There were extremely expensive cars. And then there was that car. A custom-built Orem V12. A model so rare that Liana remembered reading an article about it several weeks earlier while killing time during her lunch break. Only one man in the country was known to own one. Adrian Vale. 29 years old. Heir to one of the largest private fortunes in Europe. Hotels. Investment firms. Technology companies. Real estate. Shipping. The media followed him relentlessly. Yet almost nothing about his private life was known. Every newspaper called him the country's most eligible bachelor. Liana's mother had once pointed at his photograph in a magazine and sighed. Imagine being the woman who gets him. And now Adrian Vale was sitting outside their house. Liana stopped breathing when the passenger door opened. Her older sister Vanessa stepped out. "You're kidding me." Vanessa slammed the door harder than necessary. A second later, the driver's door opened. Adrian himself emerged. No chauffeur. No bodyguards. No expensive suit. He wore a simple dark sweater beneath a coat, and if Liana hadn't recognized the car, she might have mistaken him for an ordinary young professional coming home from work. He walked around to Vanessa. She folded her arms. Adrian said something Liana couldn't hear. Vanessa answered sharply. Adrian looked surprised. Then Vanessa gestured dismissively toward the car. Even from upstairs, Liana understood the contempt in that movement. Adrian said something else. Vanessa shook her head. Then she turned and walked toward the house without looking back. Adrian remained beneath the rain, watching her leave. For a moment, Liana almost felt sorry for him. Then she remembered who he was. Men like Adrian Vale probably did not need sympathy from women like her. Vanessa entered the house. The front door slammed. Liana stepped away from the window just before her sister came upstairs. Seconds later, Liana's bedroom door opened without a knock. Vanessa entered. Of course she did. Nobody in this family knocked before entering Liana's room. Privacy, like most things, belonged to Vanessa. Vanessa dropped her handbag onto the chair and kicked off her shoes. What a disaster. Liana stared at her. What happened? Vanessa looked at herself in the mirror. That man. What man? The one who drove me home. Liana tried to keep her voice casual. Who is he? Adrian something. Liana waited. Vanessa removed one earring. Vale maybe. Liana almost laughed. Maybe. Vanessa glanced at her. Why are you looking at me like that? Nothing. He's some finance guy. Some finance guy. Investments. Funds. Companies. I don't know. Liana stared. Vanessa really didn't know. And somehow that was completely believable. Vanessa noticed labels. Restaurants. Shoes. Watches. She could identify a designer handbag from across a crowded room. But apparently she had managed to spend an entire evening beside the richest unmarried man in the country without learning his full name. Where did you meet him? Liana asked. Sabrina's birthday party. When? Last week. And he asked you out? Unfortunately. Vanessa rolled her eyes. I thought he'd be interesting. He wasn't. Painfully boring. Liana sat slowly on the edge of the bed. What did he do? Nothing. That's the problem. Vanessa began removing her bracelet. He took me to this little Italian restaurant. Barely any tables. No music. No celebrity chef. Nothing. Liana knew the restaurant. Reservations were booked months in advance. And he kept asking ridiculous questions. What kind of questions? Vanessa imitated Adrian's voice. What books do you like? What did you want to be when you were a child? What makes you happy? She made a face. Who asks things like that on a date? Liana almost answered. Someone trying to know you. Instead, she remained silent. Vanessa continued. And look at how he dresses. She gestured toward the window. He doesn't even try. He drives a nice car. Please. It's probably borrowed. Liana stared at her sister. Borrowed. Maybe company property. Technically, Liana thought it probably was. She lowered her eyes before Vanessa noticed her expression. A phone buzzed. Vanessa looked at the screen. Oh, unbelievable. What? It's him. Liana's heart jumped. Vanessa opened the message. He wants to see me tomorrow. She read aloud. I know tonight probably wasn't what you expected, but I'd like to make it up to you. There's a film showing tomorrow evening that I think you'd enjoy. Would you like to go? Vanessa dropped onto Liana's bed. No. Then tell him no. I don't want to be rude. Liana gave her a look. Vanessa frowned. What? You just spent 10 minutes insulting him. To you. That's different. Liana said nothing. Vanessa studied the message again, then slowly turned toward her younger sister. Something changed in her eyes. Liana recognized that expression. Vanessa had just thought of something entertaining. You go. Liana blinked. What? Tomorrow. Vanessa smiled. You go to the cinema with him. Liana stared at her. Have you lost your mind? Why? Because he invited you. And I don't want him. Then reject him. Vanessa stretched out across the bed. I already told him I like movies. So it would be awkward. Liana laughed once. You sending your sister instead won't be awkward? Vanessa shrugged. He'll survive. No. Come on. No. Vanessa sat up. Why not? Because that's humiliating. For who? For everyone. Vanessa tilted her head. Then her expression became sharper. You're always complaining that you never go anywhere. I don't complain. You sit in this room every night. I work. So I pay for things. Vanessa's smile faded slightly. It was always easier for her to forget that. Liana worked because nobody paid her expenses. Vanessa worked 3 afternoons a week at a gallery owned by their father's friend and called it a career. Liana worked full-time in temporary office positions because 2 months after she finished school, her father had informed her that she was old enough to support herself. Vanessa still had 3 credit cards connected to their father's account. Different daughters. Different rules. As always, Vanessa stood. I'm trying to help you. Liana laughed. You're trying to get rid of a date you don't want. Same result. Vanessa crossed toward the mirror. You might actually like him. Liana looked at the rain against the window. She knew she should refuse. Then she remembered the conversation she'd overheard 3 nights earlier. Her parents had been downstairs. They thought she was asleep. Her father had said, once we sell this place, Vanessa can take the 2nd bedroom in the apartment. Her mother had asked, what about Liana? There had been a pause. Not a concerned pause. Practical one. Then her father had said, she's 23. Her mother had laughed quietly. She'll make a scene. She'll manage. And that had been the end of the discussion. They were selling the house. Moving. Taking Vanessa. Leaving Liana to manage. Nobody had told her yet. Nobody had asked whether she had savings. She had 87 euros. A temporary employment contract ending next month. And nowhere to go. Since childhood, she had understood that she occupied a different place in the family. But until that night, some foolish part of her had still believed that when it truly mattered, her parents would catch her before she fell. She had been wrong. Liana looked at Vanessa. Do Mom and Dad know you're sending me? Vanessa laughed. Why would they care? They wouldn't. That was the problem. Liana's eyes returned to the window. The black car was gone. But she could still picture it. Adrian Vale. A man with access to a world so distant from hers that it might as well have existed on another planet. Connections. Companies. Opportunity. She hated the thought that came next. Maybe meeting him could change something. Not because she believed he would marry her. She wasn't delusional. But one introduction could lead to another. One contact could lead to a better job. One glimpse into another world might reveal a door she hadn't known existed. And right now Liana desperately needed a door. Vanessa watched her. So, Liana turned. Tell him yes. Vanessa smiled triumphantly. I knew it. But don't tell him I'm coming. Her smile disappeared. What? I don't want you telling him you're sending me. Why? Because he should have the chance to walk away when he sees me. Vanessa rolled her eyes. You're so dramatic. No. I'm trying not to lie. Vanessa was already typing. Fine. Then she glanced at Liana. And don't fall in love with him. Liana almost smiled. Don't worry. She thought of the man standing alone beneath the rain. I don't think that will be a problem. She had no idea how wrong she was. The following evening, Liana almost turned around 3 times before entering the cinema. The first time was outside the subway station. The second was beside the ticket office. The third was when she finally saw Adrian. He stood beneath the theater's illuminated sign. Dark coat, hands in his pockets, waiting, and nervous. That was what surprised her. Men like Adrian Vale were not supposed to look nervous. He checked his phone, then looked toward the street. He was expecting Vanessa. Liana's shame intensified. This was a terrible idea. She could leave. Vanessa could later claim she'd gotten sick. Adrian would never know. Liana took 1 step backward. Then Adrian looked directly at her. Too late. Recognition flashed across his face. Liana. She stopped. He knew her name. That somehow made everything worse. Adrian approached. Hi. Hello. He looked behind her. Then around her. Where's Vanessa? There was no easy way to say it. She's not coming. Concern immediately appeared on his face. Is she all right? She's fine. His concern disappeared. A colder expression replaced it. Then what's going on? Liana forced herself to look at him. She sent me. Silence. Cars moved behind them. People passed. Someone opened the theater door, releasing the smell of popcorn into the cold evening air. Adrian did not move. Liana wished the pavement would open. She sent you. Yes. In her place. Yes. His jaw tightened. Is this a joke? No. Did she think it would be funny? Probably. That answer surprised him. Liana continued before she lost her courage. I'm sorry. Did you know she planned to do this? Yes. His expression hardened further. And you agreed. There it was. The question. The ugly part. Liana could have lied. She could say Vanessa pressured her. She could say she misunderstood. Instead she nodded. Yes. Adrian stared at her. Why? Liana opened her mouth, then closed it. Because you're Adrian Vale. Because I know who you are. Because my family is preparing to throw me out and I'm terrified. Because someone like you might know one person who could help me change my life. Every answer sounded horrible. So she gave him the only one she could live with. Because I needed one evening where I wasn't sitting at home waiting for my family to decide when I become inconvenient enough to throw away. Adrian's anger faded. Not completely, but enough. Liana looked at the cinema entrance. I know you didn't invite me. He said nothing. If you want to leave, I understand. Still nothing. And for what it's worth, I told Vanessa not to warn you because I thought you deserved to see me and decide for yourself. Adrian studied her. Liana waited. 10 seconds. 15. 20. Humiliation crawled up her neck. She turned. I'll go. Wait. She stopped. Adrian looked toward the movie poster. The Last Passenger? Liana followed his gaze. Yes. Do you like thrillers? Very much. He stared at her. Vanessa told me she loves thrillers. Liana almost laughed. Vanessa thinks thrillers are stressful. Something flickered in his eyes. Amusement. So she lied. She tends to answer based on what sounds attractive. And you? Liana looked at him. I usually answer based on what's true. He was quiet for another moment. Then pulled 2 tickets from his coat pocket. I already paid for these. Liana blinked. And I hate wasting money. She almost laughed at the richest bachelor in the country complaining about 2 movie tickets. Are you serious? Painfully. He held out one ticket. Liana looked at it. Then at him. You're actually staying? Apparently. She took the ticket. Why? Adrian gave her the smallest hint of a smile. Because now I want to know why Vanessa's sister is more honest about replacing Vanessa than Vanessa was about liking thrillers. For the first 20 minutes of the movie, Liana barely breathed. She sat with her hands folded in her lap. She did not touch the popcorn Adrian had bought. She did not look at him. Then the main character heard a scream from a basement. He opened the basement door. Liana whispered, "Idiot." Adrian turned. "What?" "Nothing." On screen the character started walking downstairs. Liana shook her head. "If he dies, I'm blaming him." Adrian covered a laugh. "He has to investigate." "He absolutely does not." Then the movie ends. "That's better than getting murdered in a basement." Adrian laughed. Loud enough that the woman in front turned around and glared. Liana covered her mouth. "Now we're getting thrown out." "Worth it." Something shifted. The tension loosened. After the film, Adrian suggested coffee. Coffee became a walk. The walk became dinner from a street stand. Dinner became another walk. At 11:30, they were standing beside the river talking about childhood ambitions. "What did you want to be?" Adrian asked. Liana smiled. "A veterinarian." "What happened?" "I discovered animals have blood." He laughed. "That ended quickly." "Immediately." "You." He looked across the water. "A teacher." Liana stared. "You? Why is that surprising? You work in investments." Adrian looked amused. "You say that like I've committed a moral crime." She smiled. "Why didn't you become a teacher?" "My father had other expectations." Something in his voice made her notice a similarity she hadn't expected. "You do what your family wants." "Less than I used to." Liana nodded. "I understand that." "Do you?" She looked toward the dark water. "My sister was planned." Adrian waited. "I wasn't." He did not interrupt. That made it easier and harder simultaneously. "My parents never actually said they regretted me." Liana gave a small laugh. "They didn't have to." She told him less than half of it. Still, when she finished, Adrian's expression had changed. No one should grow up knowing that. Liana shrugged. "You get used to things." "No." She looked at him. He held her gaze. "You survive things. That doesn't make them normal." Nobody had ever said that to her. Not once. Liana suddenly looked away. "You're much less boring than Vanessa said." Adrian smiled. "High praise. Don't become arrogant." Too late. At midnight he drove her home. This time he was in an ordinary gray sedan. Liana glanced at it before getting in. Adrian noticed. "What?" "Nothing. You look disappointed." "I'm wondering what happened to the black car." He paused. "You noticed it?" "Hard not to." "Do you know cars?" "A little." Adrian studied her. "Borrowed." The word came too quickly. Liana understood immediately. He was hiding something. The question was why. She could have exposed him. She could have said, "I know exactly who you are." Instead she nodded. "Nice friend." Adrian almost smiled. At her house he walked her to the gate. Liana turned. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not leaving when you saw me." He put his hands in his pockets. "Thank you for not pretending you were Vanessa." She smiled. "I don't think anybody could make that mistake." "No." His expression became suddenly serious. "They couldn't." Her heart gave one dangerous beat. Then another. Liana looked toward the house. "I should go." "Probably." She took 2 steps. "Liana." She turned. "Coffee tomorrow?" She stared at him. "Are you asking me?" "I believe I said your name." "You might still be confused after the sister substitution." Adrian laughed. "I'm asking you." She should have said no. This had already gone further than intended. She had gone to the cinema because she needed an escape. A contact. Possibility. Not this. Not the way Adrian was looking at her. Not the strange warmth moving through her chest. But behind her stood the house where she had spent 23 years being reminded that she was the extra daughter. In front of her stood a man who, for one entire evening, had asked questions as though her answers mattered. "Yes," she said. Adrian smiled. "Tomorrow. Tomorrow." Liana went inside. Adrian remained beside the gate until the front door closed. Then he returned to his car. He sat behind the wheel without starting the engine. Liana had recognized the Orem. He was almost certain of it. Yet she had not mentioned his surname, had not asked about money, had not asked about his companies, had not tried to impress him. That was unusual. Extremely unusual. He took out his phone. There were 17 unread messages. 2 from his assistant. 4 from board members. 3 from his mother. Several from women whose names he barely remembered. He ignored all of them. Then he opened Liana's contact. He had entered her number before she went inside. He stared at her name and smiled. Upstairs, Vanessa watched from her bedroom window. She had seen Adrian walk Liana to the door. She had seen them talking. She had seen him smile. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Unbelievable. Her mother entered behind her. Who was that? That boring Adrian guy. The one from yesterday? Yes. Her mother looked downstairs. Why was he with Liana? Vanessa laughed. I sent her on my date. Her mother stared. You did what? I didn't want him. And she agreed? Of course. Vanessa closed the curtain. She doesn't exactly have options. Her mother gave a faint laugh. Neither woman noticed the black shape parked farther down the street. Neither noticed the distinctive silver emblem on its key lying on Adrian's passenger seat. Neither understood who had just stood outside their house. And neither could imagine that within a few months they would be begging for a place in the life of the daughter they had spent years treating as disposable. Down the hall, Liana sat on her bed. Her phone lit up. A message from Adrian. I forgot to ask something important. She smiled despite herself. What? 3 dots appeared. Then, do you actually like Italian food? Or is lying about preferences genetic in your family? Liana laughed. For 1 second, the house did not feel suffocating. She typed, I love Italian food. His answer came immediately. Good. Friday. She hesitated. Then typed, is that another date? This time his reply took longer. Only if you want it to be. Liana stared at those words. Nobody in her family had ever been very interested in what she wanted. She typed one word. Yes. What Liana did not know was that Adrian was no longer wondering whether Vanessa's sister had accidentally appeared in his life. He was beginning to wonder whether Vanessa had accidentally sent him the woman he had been looking for. And what neither of them knew was that upstairs, Vanessa had opened her phone and finally typed 2 words into a search bar. Adrian Vale. The first photograph appeared. Vanessa stopped breathing. Then she looked toward Liana's closed bedroom door. Her face slowly lost all color. Because beneath Adrian's photograph was a headline she would remember for the rest of her life. The country's richest bachelor still refuses to settle down. Vanessa's fingers began to shake. No. She looked again. Same face. Same eyes. Same man she had mocked. Same man she had handed to her younger sister. And for the first time that night, Vanessa understood exactly what she had done. But instead of regret, something darker appeared in her expression. She stepped into the hallway and walked toward Liana's room. Vanessa stopped outside Liana's door with her hand raised. For several seconds she considered knocking. Then she laughed quietly at herself and pushed the door open. Liana looked up from her phone. What? Vanessa walked in slowly. Her face was different now. No teasing smile. No careless superiority. Just suspicion. Who exactly is Adrian? Liana's stomach tightened. What do you mean? Vanessa held up her phone. On the screen was Adrian's photograph beside an article about Vale Industries. You knew. Liana said nothing. That was answer enough. Vanessa shut the door behind her. You knew who he was when you went to the cinema. I recognized his car. And you didn't tell me? You said you didn't want him. Vanessa stared at her. That isn't the point. It feels like the point. No, Liana. The point is that you let me send you to meet one of the richest men in the country without saying anything. Liana stood. You mocked him for an hour. You called him boring. You said his car was probably borrowed. I didn't know. Exactly. Vanessa's cheeks flushed. Then she narrowed her eyes. So that's why you agreed. Liana's expression changed. Why I agreed to what? To go. Vanessa stepped closer. You saw money. No. Oh, please. I saw a way to spend one evening outside this house. You expect me to believe that? Liana stared at her sister. No. I stopped expecting you to believe anything good about me years ago. That struck harder than Vanessa expected. For a moment neither spoke. Then Vanessa smiled coldly. Fine. She turned toward the door. Enjoy your little fantasy. Liana frowned. What does that mean? Vanessa looked over her shoulder. It means men like Adrian Vale don't marry women like you. The door closed. Liana stood alone. She hated that the sentence hurt. Not because she believed Vanessa, because some part of her did. The next afternoon Adrian called. Not Vanessa. Liana. That mattered more than she wanted it to. Are you working? Unfortunately. Can you escape for coffee? Unfortunately not. Tragic. She smiled at her desk. Some of us have jobs. So I've heard. You have a job too. Occasionally. She almost told him she knew exactly how large that job was. Instead she said, Friday. Friday. When they met, Adrian watched her carefully. You seem distracted. My sister discovered Google. He nearly choked on his coffee. So she knows? Yes. And she thinks I plotted your kidnapping. Adrian laughed. Liana didn't. His smile faded. Did she say something to you? Nothing new. He waited. Liana looked away. She said men like you don't marry women like me. Adrian's expression hardened. What does that mean? It means exactly what it sounds like. No. I want to know what she thinks women like you are. Liana shrugged. Temporary. Adrian studied her for a long moment. Then he leaned back. Good thing I'm not asking Vanessa for advice. That made Liana smile. But Adrian noticed how quickly the smile disappeared. Over the next few weeks they began seeing each other constantly. Not because either planned it. Simply happened. Breakfast before work. Late night walks. Calls that lasted until one of them fell asleep. Adrian showed her the quiet places he preferred over fashionable restaurants. Liana showed him the tiny bakery near her office where the owner always gave her the crooked pastries for half price. Adrian liked expensive wine. Liana thought most of it tasted like furniture polish. Liana loved old crime movies. Adrian always guessed the murderer too early. They argued about music, books, politics, whether pineapple belonged on pizza, and which of them was worse at admitting when they were wrong. Somewhere between all those ordinary moments, Adrian stopped thinking of her as the woman who had arrived instead of Vanessa. She became simply Liana. And Liana stopped thinking of him as Adrian Vale. He became the man who carried painkillers because she got headaches when she forgot lunch. The man who remembered her coffee order. The man who never made her feel foolish for wanting something. That was more dangerous than money, because money could impress her. Kindness could undo her. One evening Liana came home and found suitcases in the hallway. Her father was standing beside them. What's happening? We're clearing the storage room. Liana looked at the bags. They were hers. Every one of them. Her mother entered from the kitchen. We need to discuss something. Liana already knew. The house. Her father frowned. How did you know? I heard you. Silence. Her mother looked uncomfortable for perhaps 2 seconds. Then practicality returned. We've sold it. When? Contracts were signed yesterday. And when were you planning to tell me? You're being told now. Liana laughed once. Where are you moving? Her father named a luxury apartment complex across town. How many bedrooms? Nobody answered immediately. Liana nodded. 2. Her mother sighed. Liana, you're 23. There it is. You can't expect to live with us forever. I don't. Then what is the problem? Liana stared at her. You could have warned me. You have a job. My contract ends in 3 weeks. Her father looked surprised. You never told us. You never asked. The room went still. Vanessa came down the stairs. What's going on? Her mother turned. Nothing. Vanessa saw the suitcases. Oh. Then she looked at Liana. They finally told you. Liana's face changed. You knew. Vanessa hesitated. That was enough. How long? 2 weeks. Liana nodded slowly. Of course. Everyone knew. Except her. Her father spoke impatiently. You have until the end of the month. 26 days. That was what 23 years in this family had become. 26 days' notice. Liana went upstairs without another word. She closed her bedroom door. Then locked it. For the first time in years she cried so hard she couldn't remain standing. Adrian arrived 40 minutes later. He had never been invited inside. Liana met him at the gate. One look at her face and he stopped. What happened? They sold the house. He waited. And I'm not going with them. Adrian's jaw tightened. Did you choose that? She laughed through tears. No. He understood. Come with me. Where? Anywhere that isn't here. He drove her to a lookout above the city. For a long time they sat silently. Then Adrian said, Move into one of my apartments. Liana turned. No. I have empty properties. No. You'd pay rent. No. Liana. I said no. He stopped. She wiped her face. If I move into your apartment after knowing you for a month, then every horrible thing Vanessa thinks about me becomes true. I don't care what Vanessa thinks. I do. Why? Because I need to know I can survive without being rescued. That silenced him. Liana continued. I've spent my whole life being told I'm dependent, extra, expensive. I need to prove something to myself. Adrian looked at her. What if I help you look? That's different. Why? Because normal people help each other search apartments. He smiled faintly. Normal people. I'm trying to educate you. So they searched. For 6 days. The first apartment smelled like mold. The second had no heating. The third was so small Adrian stood in the kitchen and accidentally blocked both the fridge and the front door. This is not an apartment, he said. It has walls. Barely. The fourth was perfect. Tiny. Old. But bright. Liana could afford it if she was careful. She signed the lease. When she received the keys, she held them in her palm for several seconds. Adrian watched her. Happy. She nodded. Then unexpectedly started crying. He panicked. Why are you crying? I don't know. Did you change your mind? No. Then why? Because nobody can throw me out of this place. He stopped. Then pulled her into his arms. And that was the moment Adrian knew. Not suspected. Not hoped. Knew. He loved her. Vanessa noticed the change before Liana did. One evening she saw Adrian help carry boxes into Liana's new apartment. He kissed Liana's forehead. Not seductively. Not dramatically. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. Vanessa stood across the street watching. Something bitter twisted inside her. She had told herself Adrian would lose interest. Men like him always did. But a month passed. Then 2. And he was still there. Worse, he looked happy. Vanessa began remembering their single dinner. The restaurant she had insulted. The questions she had ignored. The quiet smile she had considered boring. Now every newspaper article made him look different. Powerful. Successful. Desired. She began telling herself a new story. Maybe she had judged too quickly. Maybe Adrian had been nervous. Maybe he had actually liked her more than Liana. Maybe Liana had simply appeared at the right moment. And maybe what had been given away could still be taken back. 3 months after the cinema, Adrian asked Liana to meet him there again. She arrived suspicious. Why are we here? Movie. Which one? You'll see. They entered. The theater was empty. Liana stopped. Adrian. On the screen appeared a photograph of 2 cinema tickets, the tickets from their first night. She turned. He was holding a small velvet box. Her breath disappeared. No. Adrian smiled. That is an alarming first response. I mean, no, you're not. I am. He lowered himself onto one knee. Liana covered her mouth. Adrian. That night, you arrived because somebody else didn't want to. Her eyes filled. But every day since then, I've been grateful she didn't. He opened the box. Inside was a simple diamond ring. Beautiful without being extravagant. Exactly the kind Liana would choose. You've spent your whole life believing you were the person people kept only when they had room left over. A tear slipped down her cheek. Adrian looked up at her. I want you to hear this clearly. His voice broke slightly. You are not my second choice. Liana began crying harder. You are not Vanessa's replacement. You are not someone I settled for because another woman walked away. He smiled. You are the woman I love. Then he asked, Liana Mercer, will you marry me? She did not hesitate. Yes. Adrian stood. She threw her arms around him. He laughed against her hair. Neither of them noticed the theater door opening slightly behind them. Neither noticed the woman standing in the darkness. Vanessa had followed Liana, and she had heard everything. The proposal, the answer, the applause from the cinema employees waiting outside. She watched Adrian kiss the younger sister she had spent her entire life believing would always remain beneath her. Vanessa's eyes dropped to the ring. Her ring. That was how she saw it now. Her life. Her opportunity. Her mistake. And while Liana cried from happiness in Adrian's arms, Vanessa silently backed away. She took out her phone, then called their mother. Mom, what is it? Vanessa kept watching the closed theater door. Her voice was shaking. Liana is marrying Adrian. Her mother sounded unimpressed. So, Vanessa closed her eyes. You don't understand. Then she whispered the words that would change everything. Adrian Vale. Silence. A very long silence. Then her mother said, What did you just say? Vanessa looked at the theater doors again. And this time she wasn't thinking about what she had thrown away. She was thinking about how to get it back. 6 months after the wedding, Liana stood in the bathroom holding a pregnancy test. 2 lines. Her hands began to shake. Adrian. He appeared in the doorway seconds later. What happened? She couldn't speak. She simply held out the test. Adrian looked down, then back at her. For several seconds, the man who could negotiate multimillion-euro deals without blinking seemed incapable of understanding 2 little lines. Are we? Liana nodded. We're having a baby. Adrian dropped to his knees and wrapped both arms around her waist. He laughed. Then, to Liana's surprise, he started crying. She touched his hair. You're crying. I'm absolutely not. You are. I'm having an allergic reaction. To what? Fatherhood. She laughed and knelt beside him. For weeks, happiness surrounded them. Yet one thought kept returning. Her parents. They still didn't know who Adrian really was. They had skipped the wedding after Liana's mother called that morning and announced they were going shopping with Vanessa instead. Her exact words still lived inside Liana. Asterisk, we're not missing anything special. Adrian isn't rich anyway. Asterisk. Adrian's parents had saved that day. His mother, Elena, had dried Liana's tears and helped redo her makeup. His father, Marcus, had walked her down the aisle. They had treated their daughter-in-law's broken heart as something worth protecting. But pregnancy awakened an old hope in Liana. Maybe her parents would care about their grandchild. I want to tell them in person, she told Adrian. He took her hand. Then we go together. On Sunday afternoon, Adrian's black Orem stopped outside Liana's childhood home. The same car she had recognized months earlier. Her mother opened the door. Oh, you too. No hug. No apology. Nothing about the wedding. They entered. Her father was watching television. Then another car arrived. Vanessa walked in with her new boyfriend, Julian. Julian wore an expensive watch and spent the first 20 minutes explaining his property development business. Vanessa looked delighted. Julian just bought another apartment. Her mother beamed. Now that's planning for the future. Liana felt Adrian's hand quietly find hers beneath the table. Then her mother looked at him. How is your little investment job? Adrian almost smiled. Still going. You should learn from Julian. Liana bit the inside of her cheek. Julian leaned forward. Actually, I might be able to help. Who do you work for? Vale Industries. Julian's eyebrows rose. Really? I know people there. Adrian nodded. So do I. Liana nearly laughed. Vanessa noticed. What's funny? Nothing. Her mother sighed. Liana has always been easily amused. Then she looked at her daughter's stomach. You're gaining weight. Liana became still. This was the moment. She looked at Adrian. He nodded. I'm pregnant. Silence. Liana waited. Her mother frowned. Already. The hope inside her collapsed. Her father sighed. Children are expensive. Vanessa added. Especially on Adrian's salary. Julian chuckled. Nobody congratulated them. Not one person. Adrian's expression changed. He had tolerated insults toward himself all afternoon. But he would not watch Liana be hurt again. Perhaps we should clear something up. Julian leaned back. What? Adrian looked at him. You said you know people at Vale Industries. Several. Who? Daniel Cross. Western Commercial Development? Julian nodded proudly. Exactly. Daniel reports to my cousin Alexander. Julian's smile faded. What? Adrian calmly removed his car key and placed it on the table. The silver Orem emblem caught the light. Vanessa stared. She recognized it immediately. Her face drained of color. Adrian continued. My full name is Adrian Marcus Vale. Julian went completely silent. Liana's father slowly turned off the television. Her mother blinked. Then Julian whispered. Adrian Vale? The Adrian Vale? Adrian sighed. I've never understood why people say it like that. Vanessa stood abruptly. No. Everyone looked at her. She pointed at Liana. You knew. Liana remained seated. Yes. From the beginning? I recognized his car. Vanessa laughed in disbelief. You stole him. Adrian's eyes hardened. Excuse me? He was supposed to be mine. Liana stared at her sister. You sent me to him. For one date. And afterward he called me. Because you manipulated him. Adrian stood. Enough. Vanessa turned toward him. Her expression changed instantly. Softened. Adrian, think about it. You invited me first. We had one dinner. You liked me. I was trying to know you. You could still. Adrian's disgust stopped her. Could still what? Vanessa swallowed. She glanced at Julian, then back at Adrian. We could start again. Julian slowly stood. Are you serious? Vanessa ignored him. Liana only went because she knew you were rich. I didn't know who you were. Adrian looked at her for several long seconds. Do you realize that makes you sound worse, not better? Vanessa froze. You rejected me when you thought I was ordinary. That's not. Liana recognized my car and never mentioned money once. He reached for his wife's hand. You complained about the restaurant I chose. Liana laughed because I spilled popcorn on myself. Vanessa's face burned. You wanted to know what I owned. He looked at Liana. She wanted to know who I was. Their mother finally found her voice. Liana, why didn't you tell us? Liana looked at her. I invited you to my wedding. Her mother's face changed. You said Adrian worked in investments. He does. You should have told us he was a Vale. Why? So we'd know. Know what? Her mother opened her mouth. Nothing came. Liana's eyes filled with tears. So you'd know my wedding was worth attending? Silence. Her mother's face collapsed. Liana continued. You went shopping, Mom. Liana. I called you in my wedding dress and begged you to come. Her father looked down. You said there was nothing worth seeing because my husband was poor. Her mother's eyes filled. I didn't mean. You meant exactly that. Vanessa suddenly snapped. Stop acting like a victim. You won. Liana turned. Won what? Everything. Vanessa's voice cracked. The richest man in the country. His family. This life. And now you're pregnant. Liana stared at her. This was never a competition. It was always a competition. No. Liana slowly shook her head. It was only a competition to you because Mom and Dad taught us there wasn't enough love for both of us. That silenced the room. Then Julian picked up his coat. Vanessa turned. Where are you going? Home. Wait. No. She grabbed his arm. Julian. He pulled away. You just tried to get another woman's husband back, while carrying my future around like a backup plan. I was upset. No. He looked toward Liana. I've watched your family insult your sister for an hour. She barely defended herself. Then he looked at Vanessa. But the moment you discovered what her husband was worth, you wanted him. Julian. I don't care that Adrian is richer than me. His voice became cold. I care that you do. Vanessa's eyes widened. Are you breaking up with me? Yes. You said you loved me. I did. Then how can you leave? Julian paused at the door. Because love without respect eventually becomes resentment. He left. Vanessa burst into tears. Her mother immediately moved toward her. And Liana watched. Even now, even after everything, her mother went to Vanessa first. Something inside Liana finally became quiet. Not broken. Finished. She stood. Adrian, let's go. Her mother looked up. Liana, wait. No. But we're family. Liana rested one hand protectively over her stomach. That's exactly why this hurts. Her father stood. We can fix this. Liana looked at him. You had 23 years. Nobody answered. She walked toward the door. Her mother followed. You're my daughter. Liana stopped. She turned around. Tears ran down her cheeks, but her voice was steady. Then why did I spend my whole childhood feeling like an unwanted guest in your house? Her mother had no answer. Adrian opened the door. Before leaving, Liana looked at Vanessa. Her sister was crying. For years Liana had imagined that seeing Vanessa lose something would feel like justice. It didn't. It simply felt sad. I didn't steal Adrian from you, Liana said quietly. Vanessa looked up. You gave him away because you thought he wasn't valuable. Liana took Adrian's hand. And you almost did the same thing with me. They left. Outside, Adrian opened the passenger door. Liana didn't get in. She looked back at the house. You okay? He asked. No. Adrian nodded. He didn't tell her to forgive. He didn't tell her family meant well. He simply stood beside her. Then Liana whispered. But I think I finally understand something. What? I spent my whole life trying to make them choose me. Adrian took her hand. And? She looked at him. I don't need them to anymore. 6 months later, their daughter was born. They named her Amelia. Adrian's mother cried when she held her. Marcus bought so many toys that Liana threatened to ban him from children's stores. And when Liana held her daughter for the first time, she made one promise. You will never wonder whether you were wanted. Years later, Vanessa eventually sent a letter. Not an excuse. An apology. Liana did not immediately forgive her. Some wounds deserve time. Her father began calling occasionally. Her mother took much longer to understand that being a grandmother did not erase the kind of mother she had been. Relationships changed slowly. Some healed. Some never returned to what they had been. And Liana learned that this was all right. One evening, years later, she stood beside the window of the home she shared with Adrian. The black Orem was parked below. Adrian came behind her. Do you know what I was thinking? What? The first time I saw that car, I thought it might be my way out. Adrian smiled. Technically it was. Liana shook her head. No. She looked toward the living room where their daughter was laughing. The car wasn't. She turned toward him. You were. Adrian kissed her forehead. Liana smiled, then corrected herself. Actually, no. What now? I was. Adrian looked at her and slowly smiled, because he understood. He had loved her, supported her, chosen her. But Liana had eventually done something even more important. She had chosen herself. The girl who had once believed she should never have been born had created a home where nobody had to earn the right to belong. And in the end, that became her greatest victory. Not marrying the richest bachelor in the country. Not proving Vanessa wrong. Not watching her parents discover what they had underestimated. It was realizing that her worth had never depended on any of them recognizing it. Some people spend their whole lives standing outside a locked door, begging their family to let them in. Liana finally understood that she didn't have to. She could turn around, walk away, and build a home with doors that open from the inside.